The average nuclear verdict is $33.8 million. $33.8 million. These smaller companies cannot afford that, and then they're forced into becoming insolvent and file for bankruptcy. How do we stop the nuclear verdicts?
You go back to the first nuclear verdict, 2018, $101 million, state of Texas. And then there was a tragic accident. The driver states that he avoided a dog that came out of a ditch, turned to the right, turned to the left. He ended up crossing the center line, and there were 5 family members, a grandmother, her twin sister, the mother, and then 2 children for that mother. So 5 people killed in that accident. It was on a 2-lane highway in Alabama, and verdict was rendered awarding the family of those victims $280 million in 2019. That was kind of like the beginning of these nuclear verdicts. And it's just the proliferation of the legal environment we're in. You can't drive down the highway without seeing a billboard saying, were you injured in a trucking accident? Call this number. We've seen this for the past 6-7 years as these nuclear verdicts have begun increasing. Premiums are rising on the insurance side, but you're also seeing a deeper movement from the insurance industry and really getting into the space of, especially these large for-hire guys, more than just looking at historical trends. That's basically what drives a lot of the insurance premiums. But now looking at what's the safety training? What's the maintenance process like? How young is the fleet? What's the average age of the trucks that they are driving? How do they do their reoccurring safety training? Are there any shortcuts that are being taken by any of these fleets? So what you're seeing is a more premium value on drivers that have perhaps 1 million miles of experience, of safe driving experience, or 25 years of safe driving experience. Those drivers with demonstrated experience, demonstrated safe driving performance are actually translating into stable insurance premiums, right? We've talked before about all this cost pressure that's on trucking in that industry. And you've got to find ways to offset that in order to maintain your financial viability moving forward. And it's harder and harder for those smaller people, smaller fleets that are 1 to 5, less than 26 trucks, which is the majority. Over 97% of the trucking companies registered with the DOT. So that's kind of like the state of where it is right now. And I think this opens up the conversation for autonomy, right? What impact does an autonomous driver have? If you think of that million miler, that 5 million mile driver who's got basically 40 years of safe driving experience. The simulation and the way these autonomous and these L4 companies are developing this, they're able to inject like 50,000 trucks per hour of operations and learnings and scenarios and edge cases and educate this AV driver. So it's not like that 40-year driver can only drive 1 truck at a time. In the AV space, the skills in which you develop on that driver is going to drive however many trucks you have, 100 trucks, 1,000 trucks, whatever that is. So imagine being able to have a fleet on the road of a 10 million miler or a 20 million mile driver. That's the opportunity for the experience in the traditional way of looking at safe driving. That to me is a very integral part of the value of the AV truck, the proposition and the value prop to the whole industry. A safer driver on road. What does that really mean? Well, this is where we're talking about where the rubber meets the road for that safety being demonstrated. We talk a lot about the Dallas to Houston lane. Aurora took a look. I think there were 30 fatalities in that lane. 29 of them would have been in the ODD for the Aurora driver. And when there is a fatality, there's a number of investigations that get done as far as accident reconstructions. The police do their investigation from weather conditions to speed of the vehicles to stopping distance, measuring skid marks, all sorts of different things that get measured. Well, they injected that into the simulation. And of the 29 fatality accidents that occurred with the Aurora driver from a simulated state taking place, not one of those fatalities occurred with the Aurora simulated driving. So we've got a use case, if you will, that eliminated those 29 fatalities on that lane.